everybody's going to know the next game that we talk about too. It's the damn Super Bowl. It's the biggest game of the season, and it's at this point a coin flip as far as the odds are concerned. As far as the money line is looking right now, immediate impressions based on who we think is going to win this game. I know Christian has. I can already say you've been rolling with the Chiefs this whole playoffs. You've expected them to win. You've expected them to make it this far, and I assume you're expecting them to win it all. What are your thoughts, Christian, on the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think they're going to win this game pretty handily. I don't see both teams scoring more than 20 points. So I'm going to take Kansas City with the points, 1.5 point spread. I'm going to say as long as it stays, as the over under stays at 49, I'm going to say under 49. Um, I think Jalen Hurts, he's shown all year. He struggled against zone blitzing, disguised blitzing. I think that's right in Spag's wheelhouse. Um, Now, Saquon Barkley has been magnificent. He's been, I think the stat I saw today from McAfee was he's averaging 32 yards per carry on all of his touchdown runs, which is just that's the greatest of
That's
all
pretty good.
time.
Yeah.
That's a crazy number just to think about. Um, but I think they're not going to win this game without an elite performance from Jalen Hurts. Even the last time they played in the Super Bowl, he had an elite performance and they still lost. But I think with the struggle that Jalen Hurts is going to have with zone blitzing in this game, uh, I don't think it's going to be enough to come out of this with a victory. I think the Chiefs are going to take care of business uh, and really stop Jalen Hurts. I think that's what it comes down to.
So in a low-scoring game, even if they're going to be relying on Saquon Barkley primarily and that offensive line, which we know is the best in the league, you still think that Spags and the Chiefs defense are going to be too much for Hurts to handle, is what it
I
comes
do.
down to.
I do. Yeah.
Do we have any Eagles believers? Because I'm seeing that they're at plus money and knowing that they've been arguably maybe the best overall team in the league since their last loss, however many weeks ago that it was. It feels like forever ago at this point. Uh, where do we see, or I guess they lost the Commanders on Christmas, but where do we see the Eagles' path to victory in this game, if there is one?
I would say this that if the gun were at my head, I would say I would pick the Eagles, and a lot of that is no slight towards the Chiefs or anything. It's just a lot of sharp money has been put on the Eagles already. It's a very I understand people that last game of the season. How could you look so stupid and not bet the Chiefs, especially if you assume it's going to be a 1 point game? And in that scenario, obviously we probably can assume what happens. But the argument I would make for the Eagles is the Eagles have a very stout run defense, and the type of counters that Kansas City likes to run, the Eagles are number one at defending against that type of offense. So I don't see a lot of success from Kansas City running the football, which is fine. I mean, we're going to see a Mahomes type game, but the Eagles also don't give up a lot of explosive plays. So you're talking. This is why I honestly I need bet. I probably like the under in this game because I don't see either team being super explosive on offense. Um, but in that scenario, I think Fangio is going to have some stuff schemed up for Kansas City. Now Kansas City can move the football, but the specialty about Vic Fangio's defense is they're very good in the red zone, top five red zone defense. And Kansas City this year, probably the one thing that's been holding their offense back the most has been their red zone offense. They have not scored a lot of touchdowns this year. Um, so if you're holding Kansas City to field goals, I feel like that's a win. I think it's a recipe for a close game. And you just need, I think you're going to need a little bit more out of Jalen Hurts in the offense. That's what concerns me, but that's kind of my main argument for the Eagles. It's not like I'm not dead set. Like I think the Eagles are going to go out there and win the game, but um, What I do really like is a 6.5 point teaser with the Eagles in there, and you get the Eagles up to +8 and tease that with the under. I think that's probably the sharpest way to get to it because the last 3 Super Bowls have been decided by 3 points or less. So I just don't see the Eagles getting blown out by the Chiefs by any means. And so I think they stay within that 8 number easily. And if the game script goes how the game script is supposed to go, I don't see it going over the total either, especially a total teased up by 6.5 points. So,
Mike, do you think we're giving enough respect here as I listen to this and we talk about, low scoring game, how great Saquon Barkley can be, the fact that this is probably going to be a defensive game. Are we giving enough respect to the offense around Jalen Hurts beyond just Saquon Barkley in that offensive line? Are we forgetting about guys like A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith? If Jalen Hurts can get these guys the ball, this game could be a solid, I think that the Eagles can put up points. I think there is a path. And I'm giving all due respect to the Chiefs defense. What are your thoughts?
So as I make my big announcement. Yeah. No. So what we've seen from the Eagles thus far is the playmakers become the playmakers that Jalen Hurts relies on. And we've seen that with A.J. Brown getting 5 receptions over every matchup in the playoffs. They're going to be moving the ball down the field. And you talk about Saquon Barkley as well. That's the biggest wild card for me in this game. I wasn't really looking at totals, what side to pick. I do lean the Eagles, as Turtle mentioned, on a teaser because they're up to +7.5, which I think is stealing. And I also think the under at 55 on the teaser line is stealing as well. I think the Eagles are going to keep this close. This is we can get into all. We're going to get into the props early on or later on. With everything. This is going to be a big A.J. Brown game. I also think this is going to be a big game where you see a lot of people surprise everybody of who are playmakers on this team. Don't be surprised to see if you're going to see a big game from guys like Juju Smith-Schuster. I like under 55 because that's just too big of a line. At this point, though, I do lean the Eagles because I think there's so much beat the boogeyman on them. I mean, it's a rematch of the Super Bowl. I'll bet against Patrick Mahomes. I've done it before, and it
sounded like my logic betting on the Bills last week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been egg in my face.
A lot like that.
It's been egg in my face. But no, I think this is going to be a defense that's going to be able to get pressure against them. I mean, there are injuries on the Chiefs' offensive line. I'm trying to figure out who the players were.
They're starting a backup guard, I think.
I forgot who
the other guard. Yeah, right. Aren't they starting a backup guard?
Frank Caliendo's been playing left guard, and Thuney's been playing left tackle.
Left tackle, yeah. So
Frank
I know that. Yeah.
Frank the comedian?
Mike, I'm sorry, Mike Caliendo.
Frank Caliendo is the guy with
the left guard. I'm going Eagles all the way. No. But no,
and that's really, that's the only issue.
He's going to need a lot of help from Creed Humphrey.
But no, I think
Frank Caliendo or Frank Ragnow. I think that they're going to have trouble with these dogs up front for the Philadelphia Eagles in that defensive line. And what have we seen when it comes to the Chiefs? What was their Achilles heel in the last Super Bowl that they lost? The Buccaneers were able to get after Mahomes and absolutely speed up his clock and, make the Chiefs offense dysfunctional. And I think if there's one defensive line that could do that in the entire league.
I don't know about the edge rushers though. I don't know about the edge rushers the Eagles have right now.
Good point. That's a good point.
But they got
I mean,
Tooney
Brendan-
at tackle, right? Is Tooney not playing tackle anymore?
Yeah, he's done a
Tooney's
great.
a
He's done a great job. He's done a great
Okay,
job.
but he's still a guard playing tackle.
He struggled against the Texans, but I mean, he looked
Yeah.
okay against Buffalo. I mean, a lot of teams
Right,
struggle against
yeah.
the
I
Texans.
don't know. I
in
mean,
that
just
regard,
don't be
so.
surprised if this game looks a lot closer to Buccaneers Chiefs than it does to the last game between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Because, like I said, this Eagles defensive line, the way they're able to rotate, the depth that they have, especially on the interior, I think this is a different beast than anything that anybody has in the NFL right now. And I think the Eagles have the most talent across the board of almost any team. I think that they're a bad matchup outside of quarterback and head coach, realistically, which is my axiom, which is what I always hold to, is first thing I look at when I'm trying to decide who's going to win a game, who has the better quarterback and who has the head coach. And unquestionably, the Chiefs win in both those matchups. But every other spot, how can you argue with the talent that the Eagles have?
Here's where, so it's obviously a very different matchup. But if you just look back at the NFC Championship game, every time Jalen Carter was up at the line, he became the focus for the offensive line. They're putting two guys on him at all time. You know who's there when you do that? Brandon Graham. I mean, there's just
Brandon Graham retired. I think he's been out for a long time.
Sorry.
He might play. He might play.
Might?
He's injured.
Oh, damn, my bad.
He tore his triceps. He's trying to get back.
He's trying to get back.
Let me see.
I do think an interesting matchup.
I mean, Montez Sweat, there are names on this defensive line that are going to command.
Josh.
Yeah, sorry. There are names on this defensive line that are going to command more attention than your regular pass rushers. I think across the entire line. And that's going to take away from, if you got to put two blockers on them, one guy's open. One guy's going to have a one-on-one coverage. One guy's running free. And I think at that point, if you can downplay the Mahomes voodoo magic, I think there is a path to them winning this game. Especially, I think, where they have the advantage at that point, you're talking about the defensive line and who's going to be getting pressure on Mahomes, who's going to be commanding, the bodies to take them on. I think they have the advantage in the secondary to lock down what I don't think is a receiving core that will light them up. I mean, yes, you're going to have to – Kelsey's going to get it.
Quinyon Mitchell's been an absolute
rookie, bro.
Yeah, one rookie's really good.
Quinyon Mitchell is not your average rookie, my friend.
Quinyon Mitchell's been an absolute eraser. He has been an absolute eraser. I love his game, Quinyon Mitchell.
And Cooper DeJean, that's another great player right there. That's another.
You guys are taking Mahomes for granted right now.
I think you're taking Fangio for granted as a Bears fan.
I'll make an argument
you're overinflating Matt Nagy as an offensive coordinator.
I'll push back on the.
I don't think he's got.
I know he's not calling the plays.
I'll push back on the pass rush for the Eagles real quick. Now, one thing I think the Chiefs are going to do in this game is what they've been doing all year. Look at their ADOT. Look at their average depth of target. This is not a team that throws the football down the field frequently. They're going to get the ball out, and that's one thing. If you want to talk about slowing down a pass rush, Mahomes is going to get the ball out on time, and it's going to come out quick. So if there's one way to negate a pass rush, that the Chiefs are very good at doing that. I mean,
Kobe Dean either.
Yeah, the one matchup that intrigues me a lot along the, I guess, like kind of linebacker / defensive line versus the Chiefs O-line, Nolan Smith's speed off the edge when he blitzes is a problem at times. And if you are attacking a guy like Tooney, like I love Tooney as a player, he's one of the best guards in the NFL, but when I've watched him in the playoffs, and obviously maybe this helps with time, there's been a 2-week gap. He's been practicing at left tackle for half a season now. But you could tell sometimes his pass sets aren't as fluid as you would expect out of a tackle. And with a guy like Nolan Smith and his speed, I think that could pose an issue. But I think the ball's coming out quick. Like I love Patrick Mahomes over completions in this game. I think it's at 24.5 right now. I think he throws the ball a ton. I think he completes a ton of passes. It's going to be short, quick stuff, I think, for a lot of the game. And look, the Chiefs have been winning football games the last 2 years doing that. So that's one thing that I'm interested to see play out, because I do think the pass rush for the Eagles can be an issue, especially the interior part of the offensive line with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis had his best game of the season last week against the Commanders. So it's those guys can definitely pose a problem, but I do think Andy Reid on extra time, man, he's tough. I still lean Eagles just because of all the sharp money that's come in on them, and I do think there's a path there, but there's a lot of stuff in favor of the Chiefs too, and it just kind of comes down to like how you want to bet the last game of the year. I like the under personally. I think that's before I even pick a side, I would take the under, but that's
I'm
just
right.
me personally.
I'm right there with you, Turtle, and I think one part that comes into that is how well the Eagles' offensive line and Kellen Moore's play calling have come into dealing with the blitz, which we know Steve Spagnuolo is going to do off the bat. They're going to be sending bodies right at Jalen Hurts, trying to stop him, trying to get pressure in his face. We look at it's so against the blitz. He said 2.85 seconds to throw, been sacked 12% of the times. He
holds the ball. He'll hold the ball this game. I think Spagnuolo is going to make him double clutch it at times for sure.
I agree, but I think what we've seen, especially in the playoffs, is how much better he's gotten against the blitz, playing defenses like the Rams that were throwing all the pressure at him with their young guys off the line. I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on with with this. I think they're going to be able to contain if they can contain. I can't predict that they will, but Cam Jurgens is coming back for this game. They're going to have their dudes healthy, and I think that's going to be a big plus for the Eagles going into this game, especially against what the game plan is going to be. They're going to want to get dudes in Hurts's face to limit everything. Because Saquon Barkley is going to get his. I think we can all agree on that. I don't know exactly what his line is on this one. I'm not going to bet that yet, but I do like Hurts completions over, just because I think they know what's coming. They know, go a check down, go something short, go an out route, go a dig. Something that's short. I like Hurts completions because I think they know what is going to be coming, and they're going to know how to protect it.
Like, to your point, I think the Chiefs have struggled this year defending tight ends. I like Goddard to go over this game. You talk about that check down type of deal. I don't know what Goddard's line is, but he's one of the guys that I think could definitely gain some steam, and I like Goddard in this week. But
to that point, I was going to bring it up too. Saquon Barkley, best check down option in the league.
Yeah,
we're talking about making it easy for Jalen Hurts. Well, how about when that zone blitz comes that we're so worried about, Christian? You just drop it down to your check down and Saquon Barkley. I like Saquon Barkley over receptions, and I'm not trying to make this too much of an Eagles fest in terms of saying that they're going to necessarily win the game, but I certainly think that Kellen Moore is going to have answers for a zone blitz that that Spagnuolo is going to bring.
We've mixed some pro Chiefs stuff in there.
Let's mix in some props here, because you mentioned Barkley there, Pat. From looking at what the lines are right now, his longest rush is for 26.5 yards. I like the under on that. He has gone over in that less than 50% of the games to this point. Yet he does lead the league in most explosive runs on the year. But where it stands right now, least explosive plays on a defensive side of the ball is the Chiefs. And the fourth lowest rushing yards per game is, guess who? The Kansas City Chiefs. I think a smart bet would be to put your money on Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley is going to get his, but in terms of the big plays, I don't think it's going to be there this game. I think he'll score if they get into the within 10 yards, but if they get in 5 to fewer, it's going to be Jalen Hurts getting the tush push. I think my whole thing is I don't think this is going to be one where, I mean, Saquon Barkley is up there with MVP for the Super Bowl. I wouldn't expect a big game out of him.
This might be a hot take, but I think the Buffalo tush push this year is tougher to stop than the Philadelphia one.
The one that just failed last
week. Philly damn near lines up off the Philly's offensive line. Damn,
multiple times in a row in the AFC Championship.
Kansas City did that.
Philly's offensive line damn near lines up off sides when they do the tush push. It should be illegal. Like their offensive line is leaned over, like already going before the ball's even snapped. I don't get it. But in any case,
the game that sticks out for me is the Rams game. I really honestly believe the Philadelphia Rams game would have been completely different had it been in a regular setting and not bad weather game. I think if you look at what the Rams were able to do in short periods of time, I think you're kind of overlooking the Chiefs right now. I think this is going to be a pretty boring Sunday, a typical day at the office.
You're predicting
what's your score prediction?
I think it's going to be like 27-18, 27-17, something like
13 to 10, says Christian. Fuck yeah.
No, I mean, I get it. Like, I get the Chiefs' angle. I do. Like, there's some stuff definitely going in their favor in this game. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have a run game, but I mean, hell, who needs one when you have Patrick Mahomes?
Kareem Hunt's going to be fine. He's going to
see. One of my best bets is Kareem Hunt under 45.5 yards.
No.
Yes, that's one of my best bets. My best bets.
This is why.
This is a committee backfield, Mike, and Kareem Hunt average yards over the last.
Oh no! Wait! Did you say under yards?
Under yards, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, good. Go ahead. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think the Chiefs will be able to run the ball against the Eagles. The way that the Chiefs run the ball sets up perfect for Fangio's scheme, and Chiefs had some success last week against Buffalo running this counter scheme. The Philly knows how to defend that, and I just think it's a committee backfield. So I like Kareem Hunt under 45.5. It's one of my best bets.
That's
if they're going to ride the hot hand. If Pacheco's hot, Pacheco's going to play most of the game. Hell, if they like Samaje Perine out of the backfield, Samaje Perine's going to play. You know, there's no set running back there. I like Kareem Hunt in short yard situations, but you're telling me that.
That's what I'm saying. I think the possession game, the run game's going to be there.
Yeah,
I'm
right
there.
Control the possession.
They have his over under at 11.5 rushing attempts. I don't. Yes, he ran 17.5 times. He ran 17 times against Buffalo. Kareem Hunt. I mean, that's recency bias of 11.5 rushing attempts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's recency.
It's going to be it may be 9 carries to 9 carries. He's not.
Well, if you extrapolate that out, Mike, they're predicting Kareem Hunt averages 4 yards a carry. I personally don't think he's going to average 4 yards a carry on Sunday.
I don't think either. And I also think, as we saw in the last Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes is going to take advantage of his ability to rush as well. I think that's going to take away from his carries as well, especially in short yardage gains. I mean, Hunt will be, for 11.5, phased out, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of
let's move back off the prop combo, but I'm with you there. We both agree on that one.
Yeah.
I know we got deep into the props there. Mike was antsy to talk props.
Well, I
Yeah,
got all my props listed, dude. I'm ready.
but yeah, Christian, I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of like
I think
probability favors in the Chiefs in certain aspects, and I think we touched on a couple of them. Do you have any other ones you're thinking?
I'm really concerned that DeJean or Quignon or Blankenship are going to make mistakes. I think it's one of those games where you make one or two mistakes and it's going to cost you the game. I think you're going to see 3 or 4 mistakes by a pretty young defense. Like as talented as I think the Eagles are, I do think they're just really young right now, and it's just hard for me to think that Mahomes, Andy Reid, I'm not going to say Matt Nagy, but those two guys are going to take advantage of that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I just think
I think they're really well coached. If it was like last year, who was the DC? Matt Patricia. Let's just pretend this was Matt Patricia. I would say, yeah, those young guys are in trouble, but I think this defense is really, really well coached. So
I'm with Turtle.
That negates it a little bit.
It's funny to joke about the Bears connection here between Fangio and Nagy, but there's something to being a guy's DC and knowing exactly what he wants to do in his schemes.
Yeah,
and
he's not touching the call sheet.
I know he's not. No, I know he's not touching the playbook. I know he's not. Okay, I know he's not. He's not going to have the Denny's menu, the Waffle House menu in front of his mouth. But Fangio knows what a Nagy Reid offense is going to be trying to do. It's not his first rodeo. He's been facing guys. He's been neutralizing guys like Aaron Rodgers for his whole career. Whenever Fangio is able to play him, I just think Fangio is the best defensive coordinator of our generation, of the millennia.
Bags would like a word.
As I say, I think the worst matchup for the Phillies
go off
Bags.
I got some questions.
I think Fangio is my guy. I think Fangio has done it. It's nice having Chris Jones. Okay. It's nice having a guy like Chris Jones right up the middle.
He beat the undefeated Patriots, brother.
Well, yeah, sure. He also had Strahan, Justin Tuck. He had a whole defensive line of dogs at that point too. Okay, so and he needed a Eli Manning bomb to Tyree's helmet to make it happen as well. Okay, so. I think that we can debate a wall in terms of who's the best defensive coordinator of all time. I didn't bring that up, okay? But I do think that Vic Fangio is the best defensive coordinator of this generation. I think Spags can talk to the wall about it, and I think we're going to see it's not going to be so easy for Mr. Mahomes on this Sunday.
Christian
Yeah.
Turtle, what do you guys think about a couple of names? Mike Dana and Charles Omenihu. I think right there is where you get, if you're the Eagles' offensive line, you become a little, let's stop Chris Jones at all costs. You still have Charles Omenihu coming at you.
Those are depth guys you mentioned. Those aren't even starters.
Yeah, I mean,
but they're going to be bringing
a great depth.
I think also, but you got to be talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Those are really good players, and they're really good depth guys.
And
it's
going to be
good on the Texans. He's a good player.
And linebackers, right? I mean, it's not just going to be up front that they're going to have to. Because if you try to rush 4 against the Eagles, you're going to have a bad time. I don't care if Chris Jones is in there. Okay, you're going to need to bring the blitz, and it's going to be up to Kellen Moore and yes. Jalen Hurts, who struggled against the blitz, but he also has all of this talent around him, right? All of these guys to be able to pick him up. And what is the best quality that Jalen Hurts has that Nick Sirianni doesn't? And I've mentioned this before. It's why I predicted the Eagles to get to the Super Bowl in the first place. Leadership. He's an amazing leader. He'll be able to lead this offense. He won't get rattled. He's been there before. We got to think about that too. This is not just last Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles, where the Eagles are going to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed just happy to be there. No, they've had this matchup before. They've had this horrible taste in their mouth since 2023, since the beginning of 2023 when they last played. And I think they're going to be ready to play. And an angry Eagles offensive and defensive line and that entire defense, and honestly the skill players, when I think about the talent across this Eagles team, I just have a really hard time betting against them. I don't care who the coach and quarterback is on the other side. And you know what, Christian? The Chiefs have needed the refs' help, and they've gotten lucky a whole lot this season. And all the spotlights are going to be on the refs in this game. And so you know what? They're going to have to eat their whistle when they really want to throw that penalty flag on the little ticky-tack roughing the passer call. They're not going to be able to do that in this game. I don't think they're going to have the chance to. So you know what? In an even playing field, out of Arrowhead, I like the Eagles. I got the green on for a reason. I'm going Philly, let's go Eagles.
Pat,
So
with
James
Pat,
Bradbury's not walking through that door, is he, Pat? You're
Right.
to go right along with you, Pat. And this is a prop I love. Is over 5 receptions for AJ Brown because he's going up against Trent McDuffie. He's got the size on him. He has the speed on him. He has the playmaking ability on him. He just went for 6 catches and 96 yards. Jalen Hurts remembers he has AJ Brown with him on the offense. I think that's going to be a point where, yeah, they may get stuffed up the middle. Saquon may not have a 200-yard game in this one. I think this is a big A.J. Brown game, especially when it comes to receptions. We saw what happened in the NFC Championship game. He was targeting his dudes. You go for A.J. Brown over receptions. Right now, I think it's at 6. It may be bumped up to 6.5 at that point. Man coverage is what they run the entire time on the Spags defense. 6.7 yards per reception is what A.J. Brown is giving you against that defense. I'm telling you, anytime touchdown, he's going to be looking for him in the end zone. Right now, like 5 catches in the last 15 games he's hit 5 catches in 15 games when facing man coverage each time he's played man coverage. Take the over at 6.5. It's right there for you. That's there, and it goes right into what Pat's saying about what they're going to be trying to do on defense is take away Saquon Barkley beating you the entire time. You know what that does? That opens up your playmakers to go make a play.
Damn right.
See, I'm not pushing back against your prop, Mike. I do think out of the sides of the ball, like matchups, I'm way more concerned about Philly's offense going up against. I would be remiss not to give Spags his credit, the same credit that I'm giving Vic Fangio. That's all I want to get out there because you mentioned the man coverage, Mike. That's true, but good coordinators can find ways, especially if given 2 weeks, to scheme something different. So, like, I think we're going to see a lot of different things from all these coordinators, at least at the start of the game. So all these tendency busters that good teams and good coordinators recognize, we're going to see. And I'm more concerned about Philly's offense versus the Chiefs defense than I am concerned about vice versa. Than I am about the Chiefs offense versus Philly defense. Because I do think that, to Christian's point, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to move the ball. They've moved the ball all year. They've just struggled in the red zone. And I think they might get stopped in the red zone, sure, but I'm more concerned about Spags scheming stuff up in regard to slow down the Eagles' offense than I am vice versa. That's just my. I'm not saying that picking the Eagles is wrong because I still lean them, but that's like my main concern is like that side of the ball for Philly is
when Frank Caliendo is in Pat Mahomes' lap because he couldn't handle Jalen Carter, maybe arguably one of the best defensive tackles in football, not just young defensive tackles, but he has established himself as one of the best defensive players and most dominant defensive players in football. When Frank Caliendo is rocketing backwards like Casper the Ghost, like he wasn't even there against Jalen Carter. We'll see if you guys feel the same way.
I'm thinking about Frank
I think you're
Caliendo.
underestimating Jalen Carter and Vic Fangio and what they're going to be able to do with this much time ahead to prepare for a Chiefs offense that, you know what, they've gotten lucky. They've gotten very lucky throughout this entire season.
I'm just laughing right now because I'm picturing Frank Caliendo like impersonating John Gruden again, and he's just lined up at guard, like trying to block Jalen Carter.
when he was the Bucks coach, Glennon,
Dude,
Mike Glennon.
he's
Hey,
ridiculous, man.
Can we pause it really quick?
Sure.
Yeah, that's
right. All right, so right now we want to get to, at least we want to address what may be one of the most ridiculous rushing props in football history in terms of just how outlandish this total is. Saquon Barkley is sitting, some books have him at 109, and others, I believe you said, Mike, have him as high as 114. I think we've all addressed that we think that they're going to try to stop Saquon Barkley. They're going to try to key in on him. And that's who you have to stop first, right? If you're going to try and neutralize the Eagles' offense. Is that attainable? Do we think he can get to such a high number when the almighty Spags is going to be doing everything he can to stop him?
What do you think? I don't like the way you're talking about these guys like they're not multi-time champions.
It's nice to have Andy Reid.
I'm high on Spags is up there. Spags is up there with Fangio. I mean, you know me. I've been a Fangio guy all season, talking about how great Fangio is.
I know. I think Vic Fangio would probably give quite a bit to have Andy Reid as his head coach and Pat Mahomes as his quarterback. But I digress.
We got
Chris points in the Chiefs' favor.
No, right where it stands right now, especially at 114, I like the under, especially with what they're going to be getting. I like his over rushing attempts, but I don't think they're going to be able to consistently power through that Chiefs defensive line to get to 115 yards in the Super Bowl. No, I think the Chiefs are going to make Jalen Hurts try and beat them. And where that happens is stacking the box, bringing the pressure, and saying Saquon's not going to get the chunk yards against us. I mean, I think that's way too big, especially for the Super Bowl. I mean, just that number in general, no. I go under. Just
not giving up.
Plan is.
They have not given up a 100-yard rusher in this entire playoff run.
And there we go. Chris Spagnuolo over there.
But I just think you have to keep in mind with market psychology with that Saquon number, like a lot of the casual bettors, especially in the Super Bowl, are going to just take Saquon over just because that's the fun thing to do. Yeah. So I mean, that line is just going to be premiumed up anyways. So I'm with you. I don't think there's going to be explosive plays from anybody in this game. I let off with that. I just don't see it. So yeah, and for Saquon to get there, I mean, what's his? I don't know what his attempts are at, but probably around the 26.5 mark, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So he's averaging 4.5 yards a carry. But not when they're keyed in on him. So yeah, I'm with you. I think the unders. That's a high number. There have to be so many layers of probability in the favor for me to think about going over in that number. I do like his receiving though. Pat made a good point earlier. I do like his receiving.
That was it. That was going to be the next point I bring up. His over under receiving is 2.5
receptions. Yeah,
2.5 receptions. Yeah, not 2.5 yards. Yeah, 2.5 receptions. I think it's
12.5.
I think it's 12.5 yards is what they have him at receiving. I'm not sure. I'd have to check again. But 2.5
that seems low too. I mean,
2.5 receptions. I mean, what do you think about that? I feel like with how the game will play out,
it's 12.5. By the way, Didn't mean to interrupt you, but it is 12.5.
It
for
is 12 and a
receiving
half
yards.
receiving yards.
Yeah.
I kind of like his over in receiving, especially if they're going to be bringing the pressure that I think they're going to be bringing.
I mean, it's correlating. If you go over catches, you go over receiving too.
You have my thought in this is you kind of have to take back everything you know about how their usual game plan is going to go, because they're going to be sending pressure every play if they can. I mean, it's Spags. It's the last game of the year. They're going to make Jalen Hurts throw it out. If you don't have, that's the check down right there. Give 4 receptions and 14 yards is not crazy. I love his receiving on that. Rushing will not happen.
All right. Are we ready to make our picks? Can I pick a tie? I'm very torn on the side of this.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't like the way Pat's talking about the champs. I'm gonna
About
say
the Eagles?
24-10 Chiefs. Just like
Ooh, the victory lap I am going to do.
Just because
the Eagles win this game.
The disrespect, I just don't like it.
Fly,
don't like it at all.
Eagles, fly.
The victory
Fangio
lap. Oh
gonna
boy,
make
this pod next week.
This
pod
guy
next week is gonna
too much Shane Gillis. He's all in on the Eagles.
I'm just watching Saquon Barkley. I'm watching Jalen Hurts, who you could say all you want about him, but he did come from Alabama. He did.
How many big games? How many big games has he won?
Well, he left the field with the lead against Deshaun Watson when he was a freshman in college, and they needed a big play to beat him.
We're going that far back.
Okay. Well, I mean, and
he
then
played pretty well in the Super. He played pretty well in the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
He started the game when they won the national championship against Georgia. So he got benched, but he started the game.
We can't throw a fade. I credit how he bounced back. I mean, as a TCU alum, I mean, he killed us when he was at Oklahoma.
And then he beat Georgia the next year when he needed to spell to us. So there's your big game. SEC championship the year after, the 2018 SEC championship. How's that for
credit to him, man? All credit to him. But
how about almost every one of these games he's played since these Eagles have popped off with Nick Sirianni a head coach? How's that for big games that he's won, Christian? Give me fire
on your
and I'm disrespectful to Steve Spagnuolo. How about you being disrespectful to Saquon Barkley and Vic Fangio?
Was this like the
as if this guy didn't have him on the on fire seat going into this year?
Well, yes. I'm not this. Notice how I haven't said one good, nice thing about Nick Sirianni this entire time.
Oh, we all know Nick Sirianni is a shadow coach who relies on his coordinators. His coordinators sucked last year, and so they sucked last year.
Mike coined the term "human meat shields."
Meat shields. He's got all the bulletproof he needs.
Yeah, they've been the most valuable meat shields, Mr. Fangio and Mr. Moore, throughout this entire playoffs. So give me the Eagles. You already know where I'm going with my pick. Let's hear from Christian why the
you know what, Pat? So unbeatable. I'm right there. 29-24.
Oh, what my score?
29-24. Eagles win it.
2017 Eagles.
I just like that last score. After all these conversations, this one's tough for me because I'm very much on the fence. Like, I started out as the Eagles. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a close game, and it's so hard for me to sit here and say the Eagles are going to win a close game against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like, all right. I'm going to go with 23-20 Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, no! You like Christian? Come on.
No, I did, and this is what it came down to. I mean, I leaned Philly, but like in my head I went into this pod and I'm like, I know for a fact this game is going to be a close game, and it's just I can't get over the hump of picking against the Chiefs in a close game. I just can't. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm happy to get victory lapped on next week if that happens. I just I just think the game is going to be close. I think the game's going to be close, and tie goes to the runner. The runner in this case is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, tie goes to the refs' favor too.
Hey, but well, I mean, if we want to handicap the refs in there, I mean, let's just assume the refs are going to be on the Chiefs' side.
That's fair too.
Because they haven't proven otherwise. I mean, you're talking to the Texans fan. I watched a bunch of bullshit happen. It's not the reason why the Texans lost the game, but it did affect the game at times.
Yeah, you see the bullshit that happened last time they won a playoff game against the Browns? Fucking.
All right. Well, how far? Yeah, I mean, that's a long time. That narrative wasn't baked in yet. But in any case, yeah,
Go ahead,
I'm torn. Hey, but my teaser covers in that scenario very easily. So
yeah, I do like the teaser.
Yeah,
love the teaser.
And as much as I scream and yell and throw up my hands in disgust, I do love talking football with you guys. And we'll be back next week to talk ball, react to the Super Bowl, and maybe even preview the offseason for our loser franchises that wish they could be here playing this week.
And any offseason moves that may come. We'll be there for you.
And a fresh mock draft possibly on the way.
Now, well, absolutely. All the viewers thought mine was trash. So
a little pre-combine mock draft, and Mike will have the surprise picks, the hot takes ready, and we'll have all the hot takes ready for you next week on the Bulletin Board Sports Podcast. Thank you for rocking with us.
Wait, Christian, what was your prediction?
He picked the Chiefs. 24 to 10.
Yeah, end it. Get rid of this guy.
Yeah, and so on that note, Christian predicts the most boring night of the year in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs winning again. Let's just pray that Christian's wrong.
He's taking a bath on the Super Bowl, people.
And that I'm right, because I will be, and I'll be taking my victory lap next
Go
week.
Birds!
On the Bulletin Board Sports Podcast. Go Birds, fly Eagles, fly. This is for Pat, Christian, Turtle, and Mike. This has been the Bulletin Board Sports Podcast. Peace. See you next week.